If you ask pretty much anyone in the world what one thing they would want to see in the southwest United States, you're likely to get just one answer.
Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon, sir. Grand Canyon.
That's Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon.
The Grand Canyon. That's ironic because Zion National Park received nearly 500,000 more visitors last year, despite being smaller by any objective measure. Grand Canyon is over 8 times the area of Zion National Park. It's over 18 times as long as Zion. It's over twice as deep. It's just bigger in every physical way. That's why when we planned our Southwest road trip, we had to visit Zion to see what all the fuss was about. For you cartographically inclined, here's a map of Zion National Park in southern Utah. The northern section of the park is Kolob Canyons. Its hiking trails were nearly an hour away from our hotel, so we confined our explorations to the most popular part of the park, Zion and Pine Creek Canyons. There's only one hotel in the park, and reservations need to be made about a year in advance, so we didn't do that. We stayed at Springdale in Majestic View Lodge. There are lots of good hotels in Springdale, but their prices go up dramatically as you get closer to the park entrance. That's why we picked the hotel at the last shuttle stop in town.
Well, it's certainly not hard to see how the place got its name. Oh, wait. Oh, there we go.
Its rooms were added in 2003 to the already operating restaurant and trading post. Today, the restaurant is still very good. However, it's only open for dinner, so you'll have to find your other meals elsewhere. Since it's on the shuttle loop, getting around town was very convenient. Our first morning while foraging for breakfast, we stumbled across Mimi's Cafe at Springdale Shuttle Stop 5. We enjoyed it so much that we ate there every morning while exploring Zion. We discovered that none of us were getting enough hollandaise sauce for breakfast, and Mimi's quickly cured that dietary deficiency. As a bonus, it's conveniently located across the street from the Saul Market, which is a very well-stocked store where we picked up things we forgot to pack. Once you get to the park entrance, you need to know where you're headed. If you're going up Zion Canyon, you need to board the Zion shuttle at the park entrance. If you're going up Pine Creek Canyon along the Zion-Mount Carmel Highway, you need to take your car because there is no shuttle service on this route. Our first morning hike was the Canyon View Trail, an easy 1 mile out and back with some great views. It has less than 200 feet of elevation gain, most of it coming right at the start. Really, the hardest part of this hike is finding a place to park. The first lot is just outside the tunnel exit, but there are more parking spaces along the road as you get further from the tunnel exit. Go early while you can still park somewhere near the trailhead and before the narrow trail gets overcrowded. If you have a fear of heights, that would be problematic since parts of this trail is quite exposed and the end of the trail has quite a spectacular cliff affording the great view. When we went, there was intermittent rain, sometimes making the trail a bit slippery, adding to the already lumpy footing. We just took our time and were careful. It's one of the few trails that are scenic every step of the way. The reward at the end was a breathtaking view above the Great Arch looking into Pine Creek Canyon, where you can see the road leading to the tunnel as well as some of the tunnel windows used for dumping rock during construction of the tunnel and providing ventilation in that big hole.
I'm pretty sure that there's a view from here somewhere.
We'll find it.
Send the drone.
Almost nobody here.
I know, it's not very crowded at all.
For Zion.
Yeah.
What are you looking at?
Coming at you from the Canyon View Trail at Zion Park.
We soaked in the views and took the obligatory falling off the cliff photos, never really getting close enough to put ourselves in danger.
Don't take this picture. It is dangerous and it's not wise.
It's not wise. It's scary.
It's a mystery of why people fall off on this trail. Sir, those edge shots are not wise. Too many people fall off all the time doing them.
Our hike back showed the wisdom of going early, since we had to wait in wider spots to let other hikers pass through the more narrow bits of the trail. We recommend this trail above all the others that we hiked in the park. Once back at the car, we found that the vault toilet in our parking lot was closed, so we walked the short 100 meters to the next parking lot, only to find that one of the 2 vault toilets there was also closed, causing a bit of a wait to use the facilities. One wonders what goes wrong with a vault toilet, so that they can't remain open. Perhaps it's better not to know. Because of the crowds, we had to turn away from the tunnel to get to the end of the line to go through it, and when we turned around to come back towards the tunnel, we saw these bighorn sheep. They were spectacular. We drove back through the tunnel and down the switchbacks on the road to go back to our hotel so we could take the shuttle into Zion for our afternoon stroll. We stopped for lunch at Oscar's, across the street from Mimi's. It was decent Tex-Mex food and very generous with the avocados in their dishes. That didn't play well because Kathy has an avocado allergy, so she didn't really get to enjoy the sandwich that we shared for lunch. After lunch, and parking our car at the Majestic View and taking a bit of Benadryl, we tried the town shuttle to the park entrance to transfer onto the park shuttle bus. Being from Los Angeles, it's always a treat to experience mass transit that's convenient and works.
The Virgin River, named after the airline, I believe. The explorers are about to enter a national park and the station of entrance.
Our next hike would be the Riverwalk starting at the Temple of Sinawava.
Walt Disney presents Riverside Walk.
Here, we got a better appreciation of exactly what the impact of having over 5 million visitors a year means to an area where the featured attractions are at the bottom of narrow canyons. While the hike itself isn't challenging at under 2 miles in length and less than 200 feet elevation gain, it does feel a bit like you're walking through an amusement park attraction more than walking in the wilderness. Still, it's far more spectacular than anything Walt has ever built.
The Temple of Sinawava. That is the temple next door to the Temple of Sinawava. Kathy walking on the most crowded city street she's walked on in years. Sir, what have we ever told you about feeding the squirrels?
Do not do it, no matter whether they beg or not. They can't use that sad face on you. Don't fall victim to it.
No people on Riverside Walk. Unheard of.
We're coming up to the Narrows.
This trail is the first part of the very popular bottoms-up Zion Narrows Trail. This is where hikers wear waders and boots, especially designed to walk in the river after the canyon narrows and no longer has room for a dry trail. These folks are easy to spot because of their red rental boots and wooden hiking staffs, all of which could be rented right there at the park entrance. To us, it was telling that none of these people were smiling. Perhaps the hike is more fulfilling when there are fewer crowds. Still, we did start gaining an appreciation of why Zion attracts so many people. Aside from its jaw-dropping scenery, it's clear that canyons are just more interesting when you're down in them rather than viewing them from above.
The canyon's opening up. You may yet survive. We have a sign for everything. The widening canyon. Our survival suddenly propped up to maybe.
The Disney pram is here, honey.
It's rush hour at the Temple of Sinawava. People are leaving. Many wet-footed hikers coming back from the Narrows. Others have just taken the Riverside Walk. But this is the view they see when they get down to the bus stop.
After a carefree shuttle ride back to the park entrance and then the town shuttle, we made it back to Majestic View Lodge for cocktail hour on our balcony, enjoying the views before enjoying a delicious steak dinner at the hotel restaurant. The next morning, we planned to repeat the pattern of our first day. Instead of hiking to another viewpoint, we chose to go higher, with an around-the-park 100-mile flight with Zion helicopters. Our tour included the circumnavigation of Zion along with a scenic tour of the Canaan Mountain Wilderness. We arrived just as the operation was opening and were greeted for check-in by someone who clearly wasn't happy about having to be there. That was a bad sign, but we knew things would be just fine when we met our pilot, Jordan. He was knowledgeable and personable. We could tell that we were in good hands. One of the first things we flew over was commonly known as Flying Monkey Mesa. Its official name is Hurricane Mesa Test Area. It's one of the rocket sleds used to test cockpit ejection seats and was built on a mesa because it allowed the collection of data on subjects falling over a 1,500-foot cliff below where they were launched. Most of the tests were done using dummies, however chimpanzees were used on several occasions. I'm not sure if this operation was PETA certified. Helicopters aren't allowed to fly over the national park. However, our tour circled the entire park and let us see the breathtaking ranchland of the area. We learned how the narrow canyons of Zion were formed. In short, it's due to the rapid erosion of sandstone after the waters eroded through the much tougher surface stone materials. We saw all kinds of rocks and canyons, and we really got a sense for how this place became so special. Here we're flying past the eastern exit of Zion National Park. This was one of the few ways you can really get a sense for how big the Canaan Mountain Wilderness was. It was an area that we had never heard of, but as you can see, it's spectacular. We even learned something about the history of Colorado City, located at the border of Arizona and Utah, along with its relationship to Warren Jeffs, the imprisoned religious sect leader. After seeing all these sights, we were given the opportunity to land on top of a private mesa to take in the views, sip some sparkling wine, and fly the drone.
So far, so good?
So far, so good. Awesome.
Mike, blogging. Zion, over there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh, well, there are bugs.
It's amazing.
There's a lot of bugs.
It's a great way to spend the morning, and we couldn't recommend it more highly.
What was the butte we were on just moments ago?
I thought it was pretty spectacular.
Acceptable?
Acceptable.
This view just never gets old.
Fueled up and ready for more hiking, we boarded the shuttle from the hotel and headed to the park entrance and shuttle station. This time we got off at Zion Lodge to see where those who plan ahead stay.
We're going to Emerald Pools, baby.
Our hike crossed the river near the lodge and headed to our destination, Lower Emerald Pool. It's a 1.4 mile out and back with an elevation gain of only 127 feet.
No mountain bikes? No schnauzers.
This day was a Monday. It was a marked contrast from our prior day of hiking in that most of the hikers were speaking other languages, unlike the day before. The trail was just as crowded, but it seemed to be made up of a different demographic. That was a bit surprising.
So what do you think about the rumors that this place is overcrowded?
They're true.
Oh.
But it's manageable.
I have to say, it's very difficult to find a background that isn't amazing.
Yeah. Everywhere you turn.
Look at all the different sandstones, the limestones, the micas, everything. And reality.
The pool itself was quite nice and even had some water dripping into it from a small creek, presumably coming from the upper Emerald Pools.
And its kid brother. Pool that is said to be emerald. It's raining.
It's raining. It's wet.
After the hike, we went into the lodge to use their fancy flush toilets and see the source of all our foreign visitors. It became pretty obvious that those traveling a longer distance planned far enough in advance to actually get a room at the lodge. It looked nice enough to even plan ahead for once.
Are you not going to shop?
No, I'm not.
So I'm not getting a gift?
Not from here.
Our shuttle return was filled with spectacular canyon views, which inspired us to enjoy a beer at the brewery next to the park entrance. What a great spot. That evening, we enjoyed cocktails on our deck, enjoying the even more majestic view, with a little help from a local rain shower. Dinner again was at the convenient hotel restaurant, so we could get ready to move quickly the next morning.
Okay, this place is comically ridiculous. I mean, come on. The view, you know what was missing with the view? It was a rainbow. Well, we took care of that problem now, didn't we?
When morning came, so did the rains and flash flood warnings. We decided it was time for a quick breakfast at our trusty breakfast place, Mimi's, before driving out of the park on Highway 9, headed to the east entrance of the park. Along the way, we were treated to many spectacular waterfalls that weren't there during the dry days before. It was a great way to leave the park. Our verdict of Zion? We all agreed that it was well worth putting up with the crowds. It could be improved by going during a less visited time of year, so we plan on that the next time. We also would be happy to go back to the Majestic View Lodge, which was comfortable, cost-effective, and convenient. Yeah, they didn't serve breakfast, but that was okay because we were happy to eat at Mimi's anytime. In our next video, we'll travel further west to see what's left of Lake Powell, overcome our first potential road trip disaster, and tour an iconic location for old Western movies, Monument Valley. If you get a chance, please look at Mike's Drive Organ Donation Awareness campaign at DOTA 66. Thanks for watching. See you next time.